Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime, which means that it's time for us to talk about coping with our feelings. And today it's going to be a fairly lively discussion because we've got two things going on. Number one, as you know, the Supreme Court of the United States came down with the ruling to reverse Roe versus Wade. Today, and I'm sure people will have feelings about that. And then we have a viewer's question to do with mood swings and confusion about what it's like to deal with somebody having mood swings. So a very warm welcome to you all. Hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you. Hi, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin and Jeannie is our backup. And so it's really great to see you here. And I encourage you to join in the discussion here. Hopefully we will understand a lot more by the time we've finished here. For those of you who don't know, DearMamaSal is not just me. It's a group of people who get together on Fridays at 12 noon to talk about coping with feelings, Friday evening to talk about how to cook on a budget, and then on Sunday afternoons at 3:30 Pacific time, we talk about coping with stress because we all have it, and we're sure going to have a lot more of it coming up. I would encourage you to click on the bell here so that we can keep you informed of any broadcasts that are coming up, and also to make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because if I have any updates to give you, if I need to cancel a broadcast for some reason, or if I have news about viewers that need thoughts and prayers or something like that, I will put it up on Facebook, and on the broadcast I'll also put it up on Twitter. And if you click on the bell here, that's also important if you happen to be new. All right. Remember, if I say anything that is helpful to you, to give it a thumbs up. Why? Because that tells people there's information here that's of value to you, and that's important. As far as I know, the only birthdays we have coming up, that would be, I think it's Kez's birthday coming up on the 27th. And other than that, I'm hoping that, hi, Charlotte, good to see you. I'm hoping that Autumn is enjoying her vacation. I'm not sure if she's back home now, back to unpacking after her move. And of course, looking forward to hearing from Sandy about her trip to Portugal when she next joins us. Thoughts and prayers, if you can, for Lauren. She's had a really tough that's Lauren in Tasmania. She's had a really tough week. She's been not well and got other stuff going on for her. So let's give her some thoughts and prayers. All right. So how do I manage to do that almost every time? Just bear with me. Yet again, I managed, just as I wanted it, I managed to nuke the quotations that I had ready. I'm consistent about that, if nothing else. So the first quote I have is, mood swings make me really confused. How many of you agree? When you are in talking to somebody and they suddenly change from being a nice person suddenly into, a completely different person. And I want to talk about that because it is the topic of our viewer question of today. What did I do wrong? Well, as you will see, it has nothing to do with you. And that's really important, that we can give people tools to help them next time it happens, even if it didn't necessarily happen this time. All right, I want to start with the Roe versus Wade reversal. Jody and Jeannie, as we talk about this, it is my wish that we include as many people as possible on both sides of this argument, because that's where we learn things. The other thing is, for those of you who might be new to DearMamaSal, if you're watching on the replay, know that keeping civil, being polite is really what we work on here. I totally agree that everybody has a right to an opinion. I also agree that if you can't do it politely, you're in the wrong room. Hi, Chip. Good to see you there. So, first of all, let's get some feedback for those of you who have feelings about this. How do you feel about Roe versus Wade? And if you don't live in the States, and I don't, uh, does it still affect us? What do you think? And while you're typing up what you think, I will now talk some of my feelings. Yes, Charlotte saying, all I can say is it's a huge step backwards. Charlotte, why? Tell me why. All right. Because what happens is that people don't necessarily get why this is a step backwards. So why is it for you? Jody agrees with you, Charlotte. Jody, why is it a step backwards for you? Because your idea might be totally different from Charlotte's idea. I want to tell you that I think it will not stop abortion. It will just stop safe abortion. That's, in certain states. Um, and that really scares me. That's how I feel. All right, so Chip saying, I live in California and I'm devastated. And I was on the verge of tears when I heard the news. Chip, I don't know what your age group is, but, I'm, with goosebumps. I am of an age where I was in my mid-20s, I guess, when Roe versus Wade first came in. And I remember the absolute feeling that went about hearing about that. You see, even though it happened in the States, I was in Africa at the time, right? And it affected me in Africa. And so therefore, don't think this just affects the US. It will affect people around the world. And more so today than ever because of the internet. So thanks for your input on that one. So if any of you want to just, let's first of all talk about where do you see it as a step backwards? Make sure that you are not just a one-liner person. Have you thought this through? In what way do you see it to be a step backwards? And the reason I say that is because it's important. Jeannie is saying abortion is not a good solution. Some women have used it as a form I'm pretty sure, yeah, of birth control. I quite agree, Jeannie. And do you think, though, Jeannie, I need to ask you this. Do you think that, are you happy with the decision? Let me ask you that. And because you can have that point of view and not necessarily be happy with the decision, I just want to make sure that we've got balance and we know where you're coming from. Jody said, I'm concerned for the safety of all women in this country and also what's next, overturning same-sex marriage. Yes, I've got a couple of points on that coming up, Jody. So I'm glad you've thought down the road on that one. Yeah, because that's, and I believe that it was actually stated, all right? So we'll get onto that in a minute. So my reality is, right, so Jeannie's saying she's not unhappy with this reversal. Do we all agree that Jeannie has the right to have that opinion, even if you don't agree with it? That's the most important thing. You see, I'm all about civil discourse here. And I would say, Jeannie, you are not alone amongst our viewers, all right? We have many viewers from both sides. And hopefully, we can talk about this in a rational manner. What I want to do is, other than just the knee-jerk reaction, this sucks or this doesn't, depending on which side you're on, I want to make sure we think this through to a deeper level. Good. Both Jody and Chip totally agree that, that everybody's entitled to their own opinion on this. And that's what makes us healthy people. All right, that we can hear both sides. So, Jeannie, at the moment, you are the person on the other side, so we may need your input on each of these points as we go through. Is that okay with you? Just so that we can sort of talk about it. Do you believe that the ruling will stop abortion? Yes or no? That's my first question. All right, so Jeannie's saying, but what upsets me is the anger of some women who want to destroy everything because they're upset with the decision. Threatening others is not acceptable. I quite agree. Right? I quite agree that violence is not going to be the answer. Threatening people is not the answer to anything. But Will it happen? Yes. All right. So be prepared for this. Even though we don't agree with it, or I don't agree with it, let me put it that way. Let me vote of one here. I don't agree that being violent is going to be the answer to this. I believe that, but will it happen? I absolutely expect it to get violent. Yes. Why? Very high emotional level on lots of things. All right, so Jody's saying yes, this will stop abortions, but it'll stop safe abortions, not abortions in general. Charlotte says, I believe anyone who needs it on any level will seek it out at any cost. Jeannie says there will be abortions, nevertheless, but late-term abortion is bad. I quite agree with you. All right. How many of you agree with Jeannie that late-term abortion is not something that you want to see happen? So thank you for that balance on that one, Jeannie. And I think you'll find that most of my viewers, probably support you in that. And it's, we're not necessarily that far apart on certain areas here. All right. So let me ask you the next question. Yep. Jody's also agreeing with you about the late term. Wait a minute. I heard something today that I thought was fascinating. Actually, I read it somewhere. I was following a thread that was going on, and somebody said this, and I went, wow. Think about this. Somebody said, what if the abortion clinics move to Native American reserves where they are not bound by the law of the Supreme Court? What do you think about that? Do you think it might happen? Do you think that somebody will see, well, there's a big income stream for us here, and let's welcome the abortion clinics into... I mean, I've got to tell you something. I went, wow, that's somebody who's thinking solutions rather than problems. And I went, boy, that was an incredibly insightful possible solution for some women. And I don't know about you. Yeah, Chip, I thought it was interesting as well. It wasn't something I had considered, but rather like casinos, right? It was like, no, the rest of you are not allowed to have them, but you are allowed to have them on an Indian reserve because they have different rules. Right, Jody, I hadn't thought about that either. Right, Jody's saying, valid point. I hadn't thought about that. So that's why I like to discuss things with you, right? Is so we can broaden our term of reference. All right, so now because I've got smart people as viewers, as far as I'm concerned, what do you think the impact will be? I want you to think 5-10 years down the road, in case this doesn't get reversed again. What will be the impact on schools? Jeannie's saying people yelling in the streets about leaving their bodies alone and perhaps having forgotten that there are other answers, adoption after birth of the baby, for example. Yes, Jeannie, are you aware of how many children are in care at the moment waiting to be adopted? This is before this happens. Are you aware of the numbers? Jody, I heard a horrific number today, and I wonder whether you could just quickly Google it for us. So we can see it was a scary number, quite honestly. So I understand that logic, Jeannie, 100%. All right. If the adoption rate was sufficient to cope with the adoptees that we already have, possible adoptees waiting to be adopted. If we can't cope with it now, how are we personally, how do you imagine they're going to be able to cope when this compounds? That's my question. Jeannie's, Kimmy is saying, I think take birth control, tie your tube, stay away from males. Yes, don't have sex. Maybe the problem will be solved. Yes, I was wondering if women refuse to have sex. That would be one way in certain areas, right? All right. So think about the impact on schools. How many children are waiting for adoption in the United States? Of the 400,000 children in foster care, approximately 117,000 are presently waiting to be adopted. Think about that. There are already 117,000 children waiting to be adopted, and that is under the present system. We now will revert to the old system. Can you imagine? You've got to think about it. This is exponentially gonna take unadopted children up to an. Do you have in your state the resources to look after that many children? Do your schools have the ability to educate that many children? Right. And Chip, a very good point. Chip saying with recession looming, many people might even reconsider adopting. All right. They're going to have enough problem feeding the family they've got, never mind expanding it. That's, valid point as well. But do we still respect the fact that a lot of people will think this is a very important day for them in terms of a good thing because of their faith, because of their beliefs, because of their whatever? But my question is, how much do you yeah, are you aware of what the repercussion will be? And I'm not saying that it is wrong. I'm just saying that the cost to any country, by the way, when I say any country, the fact that US has done this, do you understand other countries around the world will now consider doing it? That is, ones that have come out of, that system will now start re-looking at it. Because if the US can do it, why can't we? And some people will be overjoyed by that and some won't. Kim is saying US women need to get smart. Yes, I think smart is, and smart is subjective. It depends which side you're on. But yes, you're absolutely, Kimmy. How about daycare? Does your community, does your state, does your whatever have the resources to house that many more children in daycare? And if not, you better start upping your taxes to start getting ready for that right now. The same as upping your taxes to be able to cover the school costs needs to happen immediately, because you need to be able to build that money. By the way, for those of you who were working women or are working women, how many women will not be able to work because they will not be able to afford daycare and they will not be able to afford anything else? All right. So think about that. How will it affect business? And I want you to think about that, because it will have an impact on business without a doubt. So I know that over the coming weeks, we will talk about this a great deal more. But as was mentioned earlier, also be aware now that this has happened with this particular Supreme Court. They have also indicated that not only are they looking at reconsidering gay marriage, but also reconsidering birth control and same-sex marriage. And the reason they're giving is it's not covered under the Constitution. If I understand it correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. But then I'm thinking neither are the rules of the road. All right? The rules of the road that say you will stop at a stop sign are not in your Constitution, but we all abide by them. So be very careful of this very slippery slope, would be my recommendation. And if any of you have friends who are gay, my heart goes out to them, really, because it must be so scary. All right, so Jenny says, I do not believe in second-guessing the Supreme Court decision is necessarily correct. There are three branches of government, each with its own abilities. Good thinking, Jeannie. Very important thing, which is, now will it galvanize an awful lot of people? I mean, this is definitely going to be a platform for the midterms, and also it's going to be a platform now for the next election for sure, if we get that far. So, to my mind, it's a big issue. And a lot of people are going to have to stand up and be counted on this one. And so, and I have a question. I, for one, watched a number of those Supreme Court judges give their answers to this question when they were being confirmed. And my question is, did they lie under oath? And they got sworn in because of their answers. However cleverly crafted, they got sworn in because of a lot of them, because of their answers on Roe versus Wade. And now they voted in the opposite. Does that become a crime? I don't know. Jody's saying you're right, Sal. It's a huge, complicated, polarizing issue. I think it has widened the divide big time, and the divide was bad already. How do you feel, by the way, about adding this now to sex education being dropped from schools in certain states? You know the states. You know that that sort of swath of states. They also dropped sex education. All right. So do you understand? All right. This is going to be so scary. It's not even funny. So my overall comment on this, unless any of you have a particular side of it you'd like to discuss, I'm happy to discuss it, but I want to move on to the topic of the day, when we can. But I knew that I had to start by talking about this because it's such an important topic for so many women, and I hope so many men as well. All I can say right now is God help us, literally, because the divide will widen. And now, who knows what will follow? So I pray for some peace on this one. Anybody got more that they want to say today? It's very early on in this, and I'm certain you all want to do some thinking about it, come up with some possible solutions. I don't think it will go down quietly anyway. Jeannie, about people screaming and shouting at one another, etc. I would rather they exercise their right to protest, and they are allowed to verbally protest. That is their right, as long as it doesn't get physical. That is my position. All right, but do I think it may get that way? Possibly. So don't be surprised if it does. All right, I'm waiting to see if anybody has another side of this that they want to discuss. And if you don't, I'm going to move on, knowing that we will continue to discuss this as you have different feelings that come up about it. So overall, for those of you who are actually in the chat right now, overall, how are you feeling? If you put it in one word. Right. Kimmy's saying, I had to turn off the news. It got so loud. Yes. How many of you can see women across the world coming out in support of their anger on this? I don't think it'll just be in the States. I think women across the world will be heard, quite honestly. I could be wrong. All right, so I will continue to talk about this as you need to. Know that your feelings are your feelings and you are entitled to them, as long as they are your feelings and you don't get nasty to other people. Jeannie is saying, sad to say, has been physical, threatening others, getting away with this anger, not simply protest, but wanting to harm others. Yes, Jeannie, and it will happen. That's reality. That it will happen. I am very sad to say. Yes, Jody's saying she's frustrated, also angry and deeply concerned. All right. Kimmy's saying, what about women that get raped or are in danger? Yeah, that's right. I would like to think, I saw that already some major corporations have already posted that any of their employees that need to leave their state to go and get an abortion, they will cover the cost. All right? They will cover the cost of that. However, Jeannie's making the point that the people who do get raped or are in danger are in the minority. Does that make them less valuable, Jeannie? You know, some of us on the broadcast are victims of rape. So that's a matter that is very, it may be in the minority, but I don't believe it makes it any less relevant. And that's something to think about, all right? Why did we make those, or what about incest? All right? Very big subjects. And, if you're lucky enough not to have been a victim to either of those, then I can understand why it's the minority. No, it's very important. Yes, Jody's saying, what about ectopic pregnancies, right? When there's a pregnancy in the fallopian tube, are we going to let women die from that? I don't think so. My personal feeling is this is 2022. All right. I'm pretty certain if a doctor sees that a woman has that, however quietly they do it, they will make sure they lead them in the right direction to get the right support. I honestly believe that. It's not like the old days. All right. When I say it's not like the old days, we've got so many ways of helping people now. And I believe that the black market on the day after pills, will go absolutely insane. And so you look at it and go, this will be a huge cash win for some people. I don't mind telling you, some people will really make a lot of money out of this. Jeannie's saying that those fallopian tube pregnancies will be fixed. Medical emergency, not in all states. I don't believe. Yeah, Chip's saying excellent point. It's not like the old days. That's my whole feeling. However, may I ask you this question? Which group of women will be most affected by this? All right, that's what I want you to think about. Which group of women? All women will be affected. All right. Yeah, and Jody's also saying to Jeannie, untrue, Jeannie, to my knowledge, not across the board. Yes, some states don't have that ability if you are in danger to get. I'm not saying all of those states don't, but I don't believe that all of them do either. You know what I mean? It's like, be careful about the global statement, and maybe we can do some research on that as well, Jody. Not now. You've done your work for the day, as far as I'm concerned. But we need more information, all right? So, and let's all do the research and see what we come up with, and see what we agree with and what we don't agree with. So here's our viewer question for the day, moving right along. And it is from Kimmy. And I want you all to take this in, because it could happen to you tomorrow. And I'm certain you will all have instances where it has happened to you. And Kimmy wrote to me and said, I took my dad to the family doctor, and this lady was having trouble getting her dog into the car. 6 people passed her by, and I asked, do you need help? And she told me to shut up and don't talk to her or her dog. One of the people that passed her by the first time came out and then asked if she could help. And then the lady said yes to her. All right. And then Kimmy said, I asked you if you needed help. And she said, when were you going to help me after I got hurt? So my question to Kimmy, and it still is, did you not help her fast enough? Is that your feeling? All right. But Kimmy told her, I asked if you needed help, and you said, when are you going to help me after I got hurt? And I asked her if you wanted me to help you, and when your answer to me was that you screamed at me to shut up and don't talk to me or the dog. And Kimmy rightfully said, I was very hurt by this. How many of you can also understand and confused? All right. If I were in Kimmy's shoes, I'd be going, how come she said no to me, but yes to that lady? Now, my question to you all is, have you been there? Where they rejected you in favor of somebody else? And how did that feel? And what I'd like you to do is think about what could be the reasons for this. I want to see if we can think this through. What could be the reason for somebody saying no to Kimmy and yes to the next person? And Kimmy saying, after she screamed at me, I backed off. Very smart move. All right. And also, very smart move to talk about it. All right. To talk it out with somebody. That to me was the best thing you did for yourself. All right. No, I don't think you were wrong in what you did. And no, I don't think you were wrong in backing off. I think you were right. There are some very troubled people out there today. And, who knows, if you'd carried on trying to help, somebody could have pulled a gun on you or something, you know what I mean, in the States. So I think you were quite right. Everything you did, Kimmy, in my view, was right. You saw a woman in trouble, you saw nobody was helping her, and you stepped up. Well done. You are only responsible for your behavior, not hers, Kimmy. How many times have you heard me say that? You are only responsible for your behavior. The fact she rejected your help for whatever reason has nothing to do with you. All right? And you were quite right to go, hey, I tried to help. You obviously don't want me helping you. So, and leave. You did the right thing, in my view. Somebody once said that my mood swings don't just swing, they bounce, pivot, recoil, rebound, oscillate, fluctuate, and occasionally pirouette. How many of you relate to having mood swings like that? And the question I have, what caused it? Yes, Jeannie's saying, I would imagine something is wrong with this lady. We had a woman at church who was mentally ill, yelled even at the priest sometimes. My husband worried she would harm another person. Yes, is she ill? All right. And think about that. We don't know. We will never find out. But Kimmy, very possibly she is somebody who is ill, maybe borderline personality disorder, if you know what that is, where almost schizophrenic. And if you can understand, this had nothing to do with you, Kim. All right, so Chip is saying, I feel so bad that happened to Kimmy. Hearing that hurt my feelings, and I'm so sorry that it happened. Yes, I'm not surprised, Chip. Well done. And we all are. And that's why I thought it was such a great subject. Right, Jody's saying she could have been in a panic and then realized she did need help. All right, maybe she was embarrassed. Have you ever done that? Have you ever refused help because you were embarrassed to take it? Yeah, and Jeannie's saying about that woman in church, all right, that was screaming at even the priest. She died after years of this illness. Exactly. And that's what I want you to remember. Very important. Don't allow your mind to tell your heart what to do. The mind gives up early. Kimmy, are you safe in the knowledge that you did what you could and it was rejected? It is sad, Kimmy. You are right. It's very sad, but it's not on you. Do not keep asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Because I don't think you did. And I need you to stand tall and pull the chins up and understand you did your best. That's the best you could do. And thank you for even offering to help after so many people didn't. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. And Jody's saying, Kimmy, it was very kind of you to offer help. All right? How many of you have ever been in menopause or pregnant and had your emotions go totally out of control, right? Your rationality and all those sort of things, because of hormone swings. So we know that is possible to happen. All right. Again, Kimmy, nothing to do with you. It's not your stuff, honey. Let it go. And how many of you can relate to this? I hate my mood swings. They never ask for permission before they change. How many of you recognize that one? Or how many of you have been in the middle of an argument and the phone rings and you go, hello? Complete different mood. Why could you not do that with the person you're arguing with? All right. Now, how about, can you feel any compassion, Kimmy, for that lady, knowing that the chances are she either was frightened for a split second? Kimmy, is it possible that you reminded her, through no fault of your own, but you reminded her of somebody she doesn't trust? Maybe your body language, maybe your voice tone, maybe your height, your whatever. All right. Is it possible that just being you, was the reason? Because you reminded her of somebody else. I've been there, so I can relate that that's a possibility. By the way, some of you know that I'm waiting for my shed to be re-roofed. And as you probably know, I particularly said, just don't do it on a Friday. And guess who's coming today? Do you think I had a bit of a mood swing on that one? But do I need the shed re-roofed? Yes. So guess what? As long as he can do it between, doing some today and then the rest tomorrow. I said, as long as you can do it between the hours of 2:30 and 6:30, you're on. In other words, I could, get rid of my anger about him. What was it about not on a Friday that you didn't understand? But my need to get that roof fixed is perhaps more important to me than the noise. So we might still have some banging and crashing going on during the night broadcast. But it is up to me. I could have said no. And I decided, something, I need this done. How many of you remember the issue I had with a neighbor who also, Kimmy, you remember my neighbor who kept attacking me verbally? I heard something very interesting this week. For some reason, out of nowhere, neighbors came to visit me this week. I have no idea why, right? It was really weird. They kept, knocking on the door and coming in and having coffee or whatever. It was quite amazing. But, the interesting thing is that there were so many that related to watching me get verbally abused. And one of the women said to me, next time that happens, because it probably will happen again, don't talk to the community manager, phone the police and use the words elder abuse. Because she is quite a bit younger than you, and she is taking advantage of your age. And they said, she'll get a visit from the police. Because verbally abusing an older person like myself, is considered elder abuse. So that's a thought, isn't it? And do you think she'd get a bit of a wake-up call if I did that? Now, the good news is that ever since the last thing that I complained about, I must admit that it hasn't repeated, and I have seen her a couple of times. I just pretend she's not there. I don't need to interact. So, and the whole thing was the first few times she did it, I was aware that she probably was ill, and because I'd heard from somebody else that she was recovering from a heart attack. And I, of course, part of my mind, that that other side, not the nice one, the other one, said, "No wonder you had a heart attack, lady." That's what I was saying in my mind. You have no anger management ability whatsoever. She has no filter. She just, let's rip. And then I thought, wait a minute, what people don't have a filter? All right, sick people. And funny enough, Kimmy, that was the first thing that I thought of, when I heard your story, was what was wrong with this woman. Maybe her husband walked out on her that morning. Something was wrong with her, not with you. Nothing to do with you, honey. All right. Jeannie's saying an update. Our new generator is being put back in on July the 6th. Insurance gave us the check. Well done. I'm so happy for you. How do you relate to this one? When I cry about one thing, I end up crying about everything that's wrong. Do any of you relate to that? Because that is part of a mood swing, isn't it? That you sort of pick up. I believe it's the reason, in a way, that we all cry at weddings and funerals, right? It reminds us of other things. How many people cry at weddings not because they're happy, but because they're thinking that they're jealous, right? Yeah, Jody's saying about that, if you start getting crying or anger or whatever. By the way, is the same true of loving? If you're suddenly in love, do you see the whole world differently? If you're feeling in love, i.e., you feel loved, do you suddenly see more love everywhere? That snowballs too, Jody, not just the anger side of it, right? The love side of it also can snowball. And I like this. I think we all should wear this sign, somewhere on our bodies that says, "Beware of mood swings. If you don't like me today, come back tomorrow." And how many of you agree that you can just have a bad day sometimes? All right, so Jeannie's saying, feeling sorry for ourselves, only allow yourself so much time for that, then go forward to something better. Yeah, move on. Isn't that true, Jeannie? We've said that's the Linda in the UK first came up with the fact that she only allows 10 minutes of negativity in her house. All right, so you want to be -5, you got 10 minutes, go for it, vent. After that, we're moving on. All right, and all credit to Linda in the UK, because I think we all sort of said, boy, I should have known about that long time ago. How many of you blame your mood swings on your star sign? Well, yeah, what do you expect from a Virgo, right? Or we blame something else for the mood swing. And here we were just talking about love, and the next quote I have is true love. True love is seeing their bad side, their mood swings, and their crankiness, and yet still wanting to be with them. And, Jeannie, I so agree with you on these points. And Kimmy, what I want to say is this. Can you imagine that woman is, probably went back home, or as she was driving home, thought about the fact you had tried to help her and she rejected you, but said yes to the second person. If that woman had just an ounce of decency somewhere, she would probably be so upset with herself when all you were trying to do was help. So if you have compassion, pray that she recovers from this, whatever it is that's causing it. All right? Yeah, Kimmy's saying, I hope she did. What, you hope that she felt bad? Or you hope that she saw that she'd been, very unfair? Either way, I believe that to be true. Why? it's happened to me before now. What about the rest of you? All right. Where you snapped at somebody when it wasn't really their fault. You just, you were already at the end of your tether, and then they did something that frustrated you and, or embarrassed you or whatever, and you just let all your anger rip at that person when they really didn't deserve it, and then went home and felt terrible about it later. Nothing you can do to undo it. Nothing that you can do will undo it. And all you can do is pray for forgiveness. And so what I ask you is, let he who, oh, what is it? Yeah, that hasn't sinned, cast the first stone. Or think about it. Have you ever done it accidentally to somebody else? And if you are pretty obvious, honest with yourself, the answer is probably yes. I want to tell you, it's like how many times, especially when I was in menopause, I can tell you. Or, before menopause, when I was having period pains, yeah, my tolerance of other people. I found that stupid people seem to come out of the woodwork when I was having period pain problems. Do any of you relate to that? All right, so Kimmy said, I don't think she did it because she's always been like that, they told me. Yes, some people, as I said, but it's probably due to some illness, Kimmy, all right, that the other people don't know about. Hi, Iz, good to see you. You have a holiday, so we got you on the noon broadcast. That's wonderful. I'm pleased to hear it. And here's the next quote. It says, men have mood swings and women have mood leaps, mood swirls, mood loop-de-loops. How many of you are just laughing, going, yep, that's me? Now, how about this one? To create well, I have to be in a good mood, happy and cool. All of you who are creative people, right? What about writers having mental blocks? See, the reason they have a mental block is they're not in the right mood to continue their story. All right. They need to get back into that mood. How many of you have noticed that, we'll talk about spring cleaning next, but, you sort of need to be in the right mood to do well spring cleaning, or have a lot of discipline, one or the other. And so some of us need to give this advice, during their marriage vows. Please don't expect me to always be good, kind, and loving. There are times when I be cold, thoughtless, and hard to understand. True? It's human nature. Very important. And so when you look at this, understand that we've all been there, done that in some way to somebody else. So before you judge any of these people, I was going to tell you the story about my roofer. What happened was he originally, said he was going to do it like in a couple of days, but he'd need so much deposit, to get the roofing and everything that he needed. So I did that, but luckily I did it. I wouldn't give him cash, although he wanted cash, but I was prepared to do a bank e-transfer. Why? Then I've got a digital trail to him. And then what I found was he didn't pitch up that day. And he gave me the reason was because his car broke down. So I went, hey, things happen. I was okay at that point. So he gave me another day, and he didn't come that day either. How interested was I in his second excuse? You see, when we give excuses to people, we lose their trust. So the second time he gave me an excuse that his phone went on the blink, and he's been without a phone, and that's why he couldn't phone me. Yeah, right. Have you heard of, yeah, if I paid you $1 million to be able to get hold of me and tell me you couldn't come, would you have done it? Is my question always to people. All right. And then he was meant to come another day and he still didn't come. And what I did is I wrote to him and said, I need you to know that I am seriously concerned about my deposit money now. In other words, did you take my money and you're not going to do the job? And then I wrote, and before you give me another excuse, consider telling me the truth. I probably will have more compassion for that. Do any of you agree with me that telling me the truth about what is going on is more likely to get my attention than keep telling me lies? And the strange thing was that he wrote back almost immediately. And guess what? He told me the truth, and I could be compassionate about what was going on in his life. But I still needed him to understand this is the last time. If you don't get this done, this will be, I will consider this theft. How about this for a quote? To the person who handles my mood swings perfectly, thank you. Thank you for dealing with my immaturity sometimes. And thank you for not getting tired with all my drama. I owe you big time. How many of you know that part of my reality is maybe the reason I had to meet this roofer was to teach him about what lying does to the trust for a client? And we can all get away with one, but when you start doing it consistently, now I don't trust you as much. So look at it from a point of view that none of us is perfect. None of us is perfect. And however, Kimmy, what you did, in my view, not only at the time that it happened, was absolutely okay. You did everything from a place of wanting to help somebody, and you got bashed over the head for it. And that is okay to feel hurt. All right? You were right. You felt hurt, and with good reason. And I am certain you felt totally confused. That I can feel it. I would too. If she said no to me, but then said yes to the next person. I think that's perfectly normal reaction, Kimmy. Nothing wrong with any of those feelings. Just let them go and move on. All right? And that's the difficult part for us. We want to find out why. We may never find out why. All right? But as you say, you live in a small community, so other people know her. So people know that she does things like that. I'm hoping that you can understand there's something probably quite wrong. And Jeannie is saying, good call for asking for the truth from the roofer. Yeah. I got a totally different answer, and it was sad, quite honestly. And does that change the fact that I need my roof done? No, you've had my money for over 2 weeks now. You better start thinking about doing something with it. So the next time somebody snaps at you, all right, and you have a violent mood swing, I'm pretty certain Kimmy had the mood swing as well. I'm certain that Kimmy felt great compassion for that lady trying to get a dog in the car. And that's why she wanted to help her, because that's, what nice people, nice neighborly people do. And it's definitely in a small community. Everybody helps everybody else. And so it was a natural reaction to then get hit over the head with it. Perfectly normal to feel hurt. when the next person gets accepted and you got refused, perfectly normal to be even more hurt, which led to the anger and the confusion. How confusing is that? But the good news is you vented about it. You talked about it, right? You talked about it to people who care about you. And that to me is the really good thing. So do we agree, whether we like it or not, there are sick puppies in the world and we are going to meet them? The same as there are violent people in the world and we are going to see them. Same as there are people without emotional intelligence. They cannot protest without getting violent. That is unfortunately reality. Kimmy's saying, I did cry. And you know something, Kimmy? I cry for you because I can imagine how totally confused you were in all of that. And if you said to yourself, what did I do wrong? That would be quite a normal reaction. And the answer is nothing. Nothing, Kimmy. I send you a big hug because you did nothing wrong. You were talking to somebody who was a sick puppy. It had nothing to do with you. Even if you reminded her of somebody she didn't like, it was still on her. It wasn't on you. Make sense? Not about you. We are only responsible for our behavior, not anybody else's. So moving on, feel free to continue to talk about it if you need to. Spring cleaning. How are we doing on spring cleaning? Did anybody do the spring cleaning, any spring cleaning tasks? What is spring cleaning? Anything you don't normally do in the course of your regular day. Did anybody do any spring cleaning this week? Somebody said, the chains on my mood swing just snapped. Run. Yeah, and that reminds me of another quote, Kimmy. Don't walk away from angry people. Run. Okay. Because they are out of control of themselves. All right, Jeannie is saying the Antifa people who did violence in Chicago and also somewhere in Washington State, I believe, were all given a pass to let go. Why? I don't have the answer for you. Those things happen, Jeannie. All right? You'd have to ask the people that gave them the pass. I really don't have an answer for that at all. Maybe somebody in their wisdom or not so thought it would stop the violence more quickly if they just let it settle down and go away. It's possible. It's the same thing as how can that duty officer, whatever you want to call him, at Uvalde, how can he have said, we don't go in until we've got X, Y, and Z, whatever it was that he said they had to wait for that they already had. He's got to live with that for the rest of his life. It was the wrong call. People make the wrong calls, Judy. Nobody is perfect, right? People make wrong calls. I'm not saying it's right that the wrong call was made, Jeannie. What I'm saying is it happens. So, right, and Jeannie's saying it's not good enough. I see it as unfair, uneven justice. I see unfair, uneven justice everywhere. I will get a letter from my community saying that I got to tidy up my yard, which is perfectly tidy, and a person right next to me has got weeds this high, and she doesn't get a warning letter. Life is not fair. You see, if you think that life needs to be fair, you're going to be a very disappointed person. Life isn't fair. And by the way, why does my neighbor get away with it? She's friends with the person who writes the letters. Is that fair? Absolutely not. Is it reality? Yep. Is it uneven justice? Absolutely. How about this one? How many of you relate to this one? Have you ever suddenly realized it's somebody else's mood swing and you just got caught up in it? Right? That they sucked you in, that their anger created you to respond in anger. Right? Your anger was caused because you lost control about somebody else's anger. And you went along for the ride. You got sucked in, you know. I refuse to get sucked in now. I know I have gained emotional intelligence when somebody swears at me and I can say, you are obviously a very angry lady right now. But I choose not to respond in kind. In other words, I know how to, and I could do it in a heartbeat, but I choose not to. I've even said I choose not to lower myself to your level. Right? Jeannie's asking, did I hear from this lady after I wrote to her? She's my neighbor, next door neighbor. Have I seen her since? Yep. We don't pass words anymore. So let's go back to spring cleaning. Anybody do any? I was quite surprised. You know, I think I told you that by spring cleaning, I found, you know, my battery testers and things, and I've got way too many of them now. But this week, I've continued cleaning up in my pantry. All right. And I've now got a complete shelf totally cleared and wiped down and everything. I've moved stuff I don't use as much up to that top level. And I felt really good about doing one thing in my pantry room, which is also my laundry. I also started cleaning my Keurig. That's my coffee maker right there. I cleaned all the outside nicely, you know, really gave it a good clean, opened it up and scrubbed around with a little brush and things to get the inside there clean. I haven't done the descaling yet. I will be doing that in another month or so. And the other thing that I did that I knew was spring cleaning, I was helped by this. I've noticed that if you want to do spring cleaning, it's amazing the things that will happen in your life that help you do that. Because what happened was, I think you know that all the time that I was reacting to my choking, you know, my allergy to that medication, what happened was that I managed to stop the choking, right, by changing the medication. And then I managed to even feel safe enough that I could put my CPAP machine, you know, that thing that helps me breathe at night. I managed to get that back going, but I managed to turn over and pull it off the side unit, which in turn, it stopped working, and I couldn't work out why it stopped working. So I needed to take a lot of things out of my side unit to my bed on that side to get to where it all connected at the back. That, you know, it went into a transition thing. And guess what? When the machine fell out, it fell out one time too many and it just disconnected it. So I reconnected it. Difficult to do, but I did it. Difficult because it was awkward, but I managed to reconnect it and it started to work again. And then I said, before I put everything back, let me go and get a disinfectant wipe and wipe down all those cubbies where I've taken things out. So I managed to get 3/4 of a cubby, whatever you call them, you know, cleaned out and disinfected. So I was really happy about that. And I got the CPAP machine working, which is awesome. It has been an incredible time for me of things going wrong. You might not know this, but after the Friday night broadcast, I managed to do something that caused a electrical trip in my fuse box. And I still haven't got it fixed yet because it's a big cost to have somebody come in, and I had other costs that were piling up. And so what I did was just go, hey, can I use other sockets at the moment? And, when it comes to July, I'll get it fixed. And the answer is yes. Oh, Jeannie's going, we discover we lack picks and things to open lobster shells. A woman from whom we bought the floor lamp gave us a set of 4 picks. Yes, it's those little things that you suddenly start finding. You know what I found, Jeannie? And I don't know how I missed it. I completely forgot about a whole lot of jewelry. And it's only later where I go, oh, I know I've got the earrings to match this. And I'm going, no, you don't. And it's all over. You signed off on the insurance. So, you're out of luck here. So am I the only one that did any spring cleaning this week? I'm working my way around my house now. You're going to hear from me every week. So you smarten up, ladies. Do a little bit, as small as possible, right? Do something that tells you that you have started spring cleaning, and then just move. Oh, I also did. Yeah, when I was doing the Keurig, I also moved everything and gave it a really good clean, the backsplash and everything with disinfectant and everything. It was a really deep clean in there, and all around the edge, where bacteria could be lurking. I sprayed stuff and gave it a good scrub with the toothbrush. All right, so Jody's saying she didn't do any spring cleaning this week. That's unusual for you, Jody. Smarten up. You are going to continue. I'm going to make sure of it. By the way, Jody has really good news. All right. You know that Jody has problems with her circulation. And this is really interesting. She got herself one of those under desk steppers, elliptical things. And Jody, how much have you lost? 6 pounds in a week just by using that? And so I've ordered mine up because when the summer comes, I also struggle with fluid retention. And I thought, boy, if it worked for Jody, maybe it'll help me as well. So that's what 12 pounds in 1.5 weeks. Difficult to, so that's all water stuff, right, Jody? So that's, to lose 12 pounds, and the only thing you changed was doing that elliptical stepper under desk type, the small one that goes under a desk. Yeah. So that is amazing. All right. Do you use it, Kimmy? So I've ordered one up because it's not a waste of money if I can, get rid of some of the water retention that I've got going on. And I prefer it to taking pills for it, quite honestly. So well done, Jody. Jody, I think one of the most important things that we all need to acknowledge is you are somebody that does not hold on to the fact that you are a sick person. You do everything you know how to become a healthy one, regardless of what's going on in your body. Yeah, it's like a little bicycle machine. Yeah. Now, I found a really interesting hack this week. How many of you buy bacon? And it depends how you buy it. If you buy sliced back bacon, it can cost you $10 for just a few slices, if you buy it pre-packaged. All right. But what I found is that I was thinking about buying back bacon rather than the one with all the fat on it. And then I found the difference was I could spend $9 getting back bacon, that was pre-cut, or I could spend a little bit more, not very much more. And I don't know where I've got that picture. Let me just see if it's in the same place. Hold on a second. Yes. All right. So $9 for sliced back bacon, or I could spend $20, twice the price, and get, like a whole side of it. a big chunk of it, like Maplewood smoked pea meal bacon. All right. So the thing is, think about how you're buying stuff. So if I bought the pea meal bacon, it would be about $3 for 100 grams. Doesn't really matter about the weight that we use, because I know we're talking two different countries. Hang on, I'm trying to go back here. So that was about $3 for 100 grams. And the interesting thing is, if I buy sliced back bacon, it would be $3.68 for 100 grams. So by buying the bigger amount, I was going to be saving 68 cents for every 100 grams. Pretty awesome, right? Does anybody have anything that they particularly want to discuss today, just in case anybody has anything? All those of you watching in the background there, I see you. Hello. And thank you. Feel free to comment. Just let me know. All right, so Kim is saying, I'm doing the stair stepper. I traded off. Yeah, it's funny. I still do my air glider, but I'm thinking what I will do is actually try, this foot elliptical, because it's something I can move away from where I'm sitting, move to my other couch and sit there and do that while I continue to watch something on television. I think I'm more likely to do that way. The other thing I thought about, now my mind's weird. I'm thinking, what if I put it in front of my toilet? So when I go to use the washroom, I pedal. I thought, that'd be interesting to try that, to see if I would actually do it then. Main thing is, I need to remember that Jody did it and did it consistently, and she did a lot, and she's lost 12 pounds in a week. Yeah, Kimmy's saying I use that little bicycle for my arms too. Yes, mine, the one that I'm buying, also has armbands on it, so that you can exercise your upper body at the same time. I must admit that using my air glider, uses so many different muscles. And as you can see, I'm definitely beginning to get shape, right? Not only have I lost a lot of weight, but I'm beginning to get some shape back in here. It's not good. I need to get rid of a bit more of this. Yeah, I'm working on that, and that's important. Jody, I really do want to make sure that we all understand you are not a person to be sick. You're a person that's always working on being more fit, more well, both in body and mind. And it's amazing the things that you've been up to. All right, so Kimmy's saying, I think you can hook a band onto the stair stepper. Yes, I'm pretty sure that you can. The interesting thing is, Kimmy, that Jody has every reason not to do stuff because she can't stand very well, right? She can't get on a stair stepper or anything because she can't stand for very long. And so what she's doing is trying to build the muscles on, but also the strange thing is it is also improving her circulation to the extent that she's moving liquid around and it's leaving her body. I think that's incredible. Another tip for the day. Have I got one in there? No. Okay. If you've got a really stained cloth, that you've been doing some spring cleaning and it was well past time for doing it because you could tell by the color of your cloth, or whatever. I find that when I've got a really dirty cloth, I put it in the dishwasher for a couple of cycles. Why? All those chemicals in the dishwashing pod help get most of the gunk out of a soiled rag or a cloth. So that's something that you might want to think about. And so what I do is I go, oh, that's really grungy. No, I will put it in my dishwasher rather than my washing machine. because I want to get it sort of pre-cleaned before I put it in the washing machine. How many of you got magic erasers? It comes like this. One of the things I always do is I cut mine up. I normally cut it up even smaller again, so I got bits like that. This is one that obviously I've used quite a bit. And I wanted to say, if you haven't got one in your shower, you might want to consider it. All right? You might want to consider it. Because I've now found that keeping one in my shower, what I do is when I finish my shower, I just wipe down all the glass, but I'm now wiping it down with a magic eraser so that if there is any soap scum on there or anything else, I know that's going to remove it. And then I can just rinse it and walk away knowing that it'll come up clean. I also have found it works really well in my air fryer. All right. Now, what happens is as I cook in the air fryer, I try to wipe it down every time I've used it so that there isn't any grease buildup. But I took one of these, I took this one, which was already dirty, by the way. I took this one to my air fryer and I was amazed what it pulled out. So that's something else that, what about your, what do you call them? The racks in your oven, right? Now, I'm not quite sure why they disintegrate. Jody, do you know why do magic erasers disintegrate? I have no idea why they do that. Because what is it? It's silicone. So if it's silicone, then why don't my silicone molds disintegrate? You understand my thinking? It's like, we'll find out, I'm sure. Another tip for the day. For those of you who find getting on the floor difficult, and that's why you don't do any yoga, I found that doing a bit of yoga on your bed is a really good idea. I have difficulty getting all the way down to the floor and back up again, which stops me doing quite a bit of yoga. And then I thought, what if I do it on my bed where I don't have to get down on the floor? And one of the things I found was, if this is my head, all right, can you imagine that I am, maybe my arms are not that low. If I sit like this, on my bed, and then try and touch my toes with my butt, my very large butt at that, I can't get that far. So it means that the muscles here have shrunk. They've atrophied to some degree. So what I'm doing now is every night I kneel on my bed in the middle of it so I don't fall, and then just very quietly go back as far as I can. The question is, how long will it take before I am able to totally lean back onto my feet? I don't think it'll take very long. All right? Because I think it is possible for me to do. I just need to quietly keep doing it. But the other thing is, it's really nice to be able to do the other exercises. And also when you're in your bed, it requires that you have some balance as well, right? Because the mattress keeps moving. And so I've got a feeling that it's a bit like doing surfboard yoga, right? Some people paddle their paddle boards. That's it, paddleboard. Some people paddle their paddle boards out and then do yoga on their paddle boards. That requires a lot of balance. So I'm thinking that's another way to do it. If you can't stand, know that you can do yoga on your bed, right? Now, as a lot of you know as well, that I got myself a mobile air conditioner this year because the temperature gets so hot in my place. And the funny thing is, it gets really hot in the early evening. But I also have two little baby air conditioners. So any of you got those little small ones? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, tell me and I will bring one forward for you. But I've also got two of those little ones, and I keep one next to my computer. So when I'm sitting doing stuff on my computer during the day, I will go out and do things, and I come in for a rest, and I'm sitting at the computer. So I've got one on me there, and I've got another one. Can you see it now? Right there. I've got another small one right there, which is blowing cool air onto me while I broadcast or while I'm cooking or whatever. And I want to say that I really recommend that. Then I've got the new air conditioner set to only kick in if the house gets to 78 degrees. So what I'm looking for is to not have that kick in too often. And the way I do that is to have a small little air conditioner, which you just fill with water or put ice cubes in there, and boy, it gets a really nice cool then. But, it's like I don't have to run the air conditioner all day. But if these little ones don't keep enough cool, then the big one will kick in. So what I'm trying to do is to have the use of the big one when the whole house has got so hot. All right. Does that make sense? Because then I really need it. But I'm also keeping my cost way down. And quite honestly, this little one, when I'm sitting on the computer, it has enough cool to it that I don't think, oh, I better turn on the big computer. Mind you, we're going up to pretty high temperatures. I have emptied almost everything out of my greenhouse window, all my plants and stuff, because we're expecting to go right up to close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the coming week, which would be about 30 in Celsius. So it's going to be a really big one. Let me ask those of you who are watching, how many of you have had a mammogram since the start of the pandemic? And the reason I'm going to keep reminding us all about that is I realized that because of the pandemic, I hadn't had one, and I haven't had one for over 2 years. So I have booked it. Jody, yours is coming up in July, I think. Mine's coming up in August. So make sure if you can, and if you're okay to have x-rays done, make sure that you keep control of that. It's said that we're never going to understand women. They're way too complex. They've got too many variables to consider. PMS, bad hair days, miscellaneous mood swings. There's no way to tell what's causing their attitude. And how many of you have ever had a mood swing and then didn't have the courage to apologize for what you said? All right? Or how you treated somebody. And, I would like to say that if we're honest with ourselves, I'm pretty sure we've all done it. And I must also say that I noticed a change in my mood swings when I started taking vitamin D every day. I asked the question, I think last week, about if I'm already taking a 1-a-day women's over 50 type multivitamin, do I really need to take all the other vitamins that I'm taking? In other words, if I've got to save money, could I save some money there? Because vitamins are very expensive. And I believe that the 1-a-day multivitamin over 50s, should have what my basic needs are. The other question is this, and I thought about that as well. If you're eating a really balanced diet, you probably don't need any multivitamins at all. Think about that. And so you look at the cost of them, and if you need to cut the budget somewhere, maybe have a look at saving yourself $20 here and there, or I don't know what they cost in the States. Jody, what would multivitamins cost? Like I get sort of 1-a-day gummies because I like having that as my treat at the end of all my other meds. Talking of medication, you will remember that I got my medication changed and I'm no longer allergic, thank goodness. But what happened was I forgot that my doctor only gave me a small amount so that they could find out if I was allergic to these as well. And so last night I went to go to bed and I'm busy with my blood pressure pill, and I'm going, one came out, but that's it. Empty. How did I feel? Angry. How did I feel? Stupid. Then that was just for a split second, because I know that feeling angry and feeling stupid is not going to fix it. What's going to fix it is getting more meds. So what I did was I immediately, and it was about midnight, wrote to my pharmacist and said, please be prepared to give me an emergency supply of my heart meds. I ran out tonight. My bad, but I ran out tonight. I'm going to need an emergency amount, because I'm not 100% sure if my doctor is actually even working on Friday, which it turned out he wasn't. So I was glad that I did that. So after the broadcast, I'm going to jump in the car and go and get some more meds. Duh. Jody's saying 1-a-day gummies are $8 for 80 at Walmart. You are joking. I may need to cross the border just to do some shopping any minute now. I think I pay about $20 for mine. That is amazing. So there's a saving right there, right? But you all get what I'm saying is, if you're taking a lot of extra, we've sort of got into the habit of taking extra vitamins, right? And so you may want to think about that. Do I really need them? Or am I just doing it because I could afford to do it? I'm looking at ways, how am I going to cut costs when the economy gets even worse? Hi, Beth. Good to see you, honey. I know you're not nearly always in the background somewhere. We hope that you are doing well with all your stuff that's going on for you. I have the choice of being constantly active and happy, or introspectively passive and sad. Or I can go mad by ricocheting between the two. How many of you know there's a lot of energy lost when you're having mood swings, all right? A lot of energy is lost while you're having mood swings. So this is why I keep urging you all to get more emotional intelligence, less of this, all right? Understand you're allowed to get angry. Kimmy was quite right to get angry and to get sad and all the other feelings she had with that woman that rejected her. But the truth is, how long is she going to hang on to it? If she can see that, that she was confused and talk about it and try and work out what she did wrong, that's fine. But don't hang on to it. Just go, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. Everybody says that. So, let me get on with my life and pray for the lady who is sick. That would be, to my mind, the ultimate balance. A lot of you will agree that, because of what happened with Roe versus Wade, we're going to see a lot more unrest. not just, I don't think it just in the States. I think it's going to happen all across the world where people are going to be concerned now. And if you think about it, how many things have you accepted in reality that wasn't in the Constitution, right? As I said, you stop at a stop sign. So, that we're going to have a lot of people coming up with a lot of anger about things. And so what I want you to understand is don't get caught up in it. If you don't like the anger and shouting of those that are angry enough to get out in the streets and protest, remember that legal protesting is 100% everybody's right. That would be to meet in big groups, but violence is not part of that right. All right, that you lose control, you get so angry. And which is why most cities, if there's going to be a protest like that, will make sure that the two groups are allowed to congregate, but to try and keep them away from one another, because they don't want that possibility of fighting. But will they meet up round the back somewhere? Probably, right? And will some people be out of control? Absolutely likely. And will some people get hurt? Yes. Will there be vandalism? Yes. Why? Because there are people who will take advantage of this. All right? And they are good people that will not want to do that sort of thing, right? But in human nature says there will be people that will take advantage of this and ransack and do bad things. So expect it to be true, because it will be. How many of you been really confused about your own mood swings? Like what happened to me? Have you ever done that where you were fine and then suddenly you I did that once. And I was with some young people, and one of the things I did was I used to always take my trailer with me when I went to go and do training of the leadership skills to young people. And the facilitators, all used to come back to my place, and we'd unpack all the gear and everything. And that was fine. And one of the things that I did was I would always ask the young people, how many of you have never backed a trailer up before? And they sort of look at me and go, no, I haven't. And I go, would you like to learn? And people are saying, you gave them permission to park your trailer. You know how expensive that is if they do it wrong. I used to say to them, don't, if it looks like it might hit something, get up and let me fix it. Don't hit it first, please. It's a very expensive piece of steel box at the back here. It's very expensive. So please do me a favor. Don't think you can get it absolutely right. And the other thing is this, you don't get much opportunity in life to learn how to do that. So I always like to give people the opportunity. But one day I had a young person do it, and there was one of the other facilitators next to me really downplaying the person who was trying to get it right. And I remember after a whole weekend of being so calm and collected and doing everything, I turned on this facilitator and said, if you think you are so clever, why don't you get on and do it? And he looked at me in a way that really told me I had crossed the line. But I was that angry. This guy was doing the best he could, and he'd never done it before. And I was angry. And then, I realized that for the rest of my life, I'd never be able to take that back. Never. It was done, over and done with. I did apologize to him later, but I'm certain he never forgot it either. And how many of you have gone into mood swings because you lost somebody? All right. And suddenly you don't trust people anymore. And that in itself is like a mood swing, right? Your beauty in the world was spoiled by somebody, or you allowed that to happen. I'm hoping before I finished with the roofer that I will have taught him that lying to clients actually doesn't do the trick. And if I can get him to see that I I would have appreciated the truth and also the chance to, get my money back and start with somebody else. It's like I probably wouldn't have done, but if he had said it, I would have liked his ethics on that. Does that make sense? So I will try and teach him that before he goes. And then here's a nice quote, and he says, yeah, well, I hear you talk. Most men should come with a warning label. Attention, please, psycho alert. But how many of you know that men are as entitled to mood swings as we are? And so one of the things that I found is if you've got somebody having a mood swing, you go, oh, that was a pretty violent mood swing. What went through your mind that you attacked like that? Right. And I think when we can make people aware of it, it is much easier. And by the way, if you suddenly have a mood swing and you snap at somebody, the faster you apologize for it, the better, knowing you can never take it back. And I normally include that in my apology. I normally will say to them, I am so sorry I snapped at you. And you and I both know I can never take it back. And you will probably never, ever forget it. And I want to say I deserve that. I don't like it, but I deserve that. I lost control and I want to apologize for it. I am not perfect. Anything but, right? All right, so Kimmy's saying, although she's done and over with the problem that she had, she said, I wake up with thoughts at night about dying and being alone. It started because people dying and it got worse after my surgery. Yes, so Kimmy, that is, I think, perfectly understandable. I like to talk about my brain in a way that makes sense to me. I actually say that my brain is a big library, Kimmy, and I put somebody in charge of it. All right. I got a little old man with bifocals who is my librarian, and I can see him in my mind, and I know that his job is at night. He takes my out tray, the things that I've thrown in there that I've seen all day long. All right. And his job is to sort it all out into the right places in my brain. Does that make sense? And so one of the things is it's really important for me to help him do that. And sometimes he doesn't know where to file things. All right. He's not sure where to file it. And therefore, when I go to sleep, I dream about it. And what I do now, Kimmy, is if I find myself dreaming about something, I will actually consciously go, all right, tonight when I go to sleep, I would like you to file that right away. I want to forget all about it. I know occasionally you'll bring it out because something similar will happen, but it's okay to just file that away under the category of experience. All right. So when you go to bed tonight, talk to your librarian and give them permission to, put away these thoughts of dying. All right. Or being alone. Being alone is a feeling a lot of us get. And by the way, even when we're part of a family, we still feel alone. So my question is, Kimmy, what are you doing to not feel alone? All right, make a list of the things you're doing and then tell your librarian, I know you had a little moment and you were worried about me being alone because, you've been having me dream about it. But I want to explain to you I'm not alone. I've got family and friends and I've got, always doing things that bring me into contact with other people. But thank you for giving me the warning so I can deal with it. I understand. I had that dream, Kimmy. You remember about losing a nail? Did you hear about that, Kim? I think I discussed that last week. But I actually dreamt that one of my nails, just the whole thing came right off. Not just the end of it broke, but the whole nail came out of the nail bed in a way. And when I did a bit of research into what does that mean, What it means is that, some bad stuff is likely to happen. And it's amazing the number of things that have happened in a week that are money related. That was my fear, right? Do I have enough money? And suddenly everything that I touched, it seemed, cost me more money. I took the car up for a regular service. It cost me 4 times as much as I imagined. The I need a new roof on my shed. Yeah, the fuse box blew a breaker and won't reset. You name it, Kimmy. I got all sorts of things going on. And what I did was I said, thank you for warning me it was about to happen, because I'm a great believer in keeping track of my dreams. When I can remember them, I make sure I spend a little bit of time just looking into that. And if you think about it, Kimmy, dreaming of being alone means you probably are feeling a little bit alone. All right. If you're dreaming of people dying and it got worse after your surgery, of course, because you were having a life-threatening operation. If you didn't have it, your life was threatened. And if you did have it, having a bypass, not a bypass, having a pacemaker put in, I can understand why you were scared about that. All right. So I think it's perfectly natural for you to have a few dreams. But now it's time for you to tell your librarian that it's okay. You're so grateful to live in an age where they can put in a pacemaker. Imagine if you grew up 50 years ago, right, and had that problem, right? You wouldn't have that technology available to you. The same thing, as I said, is I believe that yeah, and you're also dreaming about yourself dying. Yes. I think part of you is, Kimmy. And that's, if you think about it, that's what those dreams mean. When you dream about something dying, it's like part of you is dying. And I would like to say, not physically, but if you are, getting more fit, right? Do you understand that part of you is now dying? That part of you that couldn't be bothered before, that's dying. And you're now getting a new lease in life. So when you look at these dream things, they normally are not quite what you think they are, but they have a more positive meaning. I certainly want to tell you, when I had the nail thing happen and I saw what it was, I went, okay, I am prepared now. It's not going to be a shock when funny things happen. And the whole week, one after another. Now, I know some of you are going, did you actually create it by your thinking? I don't know. All I know is I was grateful for the warning. You see, I try to wake up grateful and I try to go to bed grateful, even when bad things are happening. So the one way I could make it all work is to be grateful for it. And when the two different sockets in my house blew, the one that does the Keurig, the air fryer, and the one that does my computer. Hello. It was just like, wow, was that a coincidence that they're the ones that I need for doing broadcasts? And I went, no, that's not what it is. It's about, am I prepared to make a plan? Can I make a plan? Do without for a month? Yeah, I can. I just connected my air fryer into my oven. Don't know if you can see, where is it? Right there, I think. All right, there's actually a socket at the top of my stove. So I just plugged my Keurig into there now, because I know that's on a really high voltage type line. And then this, I just got a extension cord from a plug that does work, and I'm using it so that it doesn't interfere with my life. Does it mean I got to be a bit more careful not to trip over the extension cord? Yeah, but it works. So I look at it and go, there is not going to be a day that you're not going to run into somebody having a mood swing. Well, have you ever had happy mood swings, right? We're talking about the nasty ones. But what about the happy ones? Have you ever come across somebody that's deliriously happy? We've got a situation that happened here recently where one of the neighbors has fallen in love. Now, how, after being alone for quite a while, and he has suddenly fallen in love. But what has happened is he's just met this person, and now he's suddenly already moving in with her, and there are an awful lot of clucking hens going around going, that's not right. But if you believe in love at first sight, then is it wrong? How many of you believe in love at first sight? And how many of you would move in with somebody within 2 weeks of meeting them? I mean, hello, different strokes for different folks. But just because we would be more cautious doesn't make them wrong. All right? And that's what I was trying to explain to somebody, which is, hey, if he's happy, so be it. If he's happy, if it makes him happy. But the fact that he's even thinking of selling his home, it's like, wow, I certainly would have to be a whole lot more sure than that before I'd sell my home and move in with somebody. But it's not my life, it's his. So you got to look at it and go, I think people will make some interesting choices in the near future. All right. And it's up to us to stay centered in our own stuff and let that stuff stay outside. None of our business, really. None of our business. Yeah, Jody's saying to each their own, as my mom always said. Yes. Now, did that person who was telling me about it have the right to have a judgment on it? Yeah, sure. But the main thing is not to punish him with it. You can say, hey, I don't mind telling you, I'm a bit concerned that you did that in a bit of a hurry. But that's my stuff. And I would not feel right if I didn't say that. How many of you would do the same? All right. If your best friend suddenly decided to shack up with somebody after just knowing them 2 weeks, how many of you would have something to say about that? And is it your right? And what I always do is I go, hey, don't run with this, just my opinion. And I want to tell you, I'm a bit shocked that you've only known this person for a couple of weeks and you're moving in already. I don't want to put a damper on your happiness, but be careful. And to me, it's just like, I don't think I'd be a friend if I didn't say it. But will it change their minds? Probably not. But will I feel better because I've told my truth, right? So, I don't want to have to say I told you so, but later on, will they know at least I was friend enough to warn them, to maybe take it a little more slowly. But, the other side of me goes, I know people that got married after knowing people for a very short time, got married after knowing people a very short time. And have been together for years and years and years and years. So, not my life. Theirs. So, Kimmy, I go back to you and say, well done. I'm very proud of you. To the rest of us, we will sit two sides of Roe versus Wade. And right now, an awful lot of people are very angry that their rights have been taken away. I am quite certain that there are an awful lot of gay people or that are also terrified right now that their marriages will be dissolved or that their rights will be taken away from them. And that I think they have every right to do that as well. For those people who are on contraception, you have every right, if you're, to worry about maybe that right will be taken away as well. But on the other side, I say, be thankful for the internet and be thankful for all the technology we have that will probably make it possible for you to make another plan. And the reason I would also give a heads up is be careful, right? If I needed to buy something on the internet for any reason, I think I would be consulting my doctor first, saying, where do I do this safely? Right? Because there are an awful lot of charlatans out there that are supposedly selling, medication when in fact they are just not medication at all. And so be very, very careful before buying stuff online. I do believe that this will not go quietly into the night. I believe that this will be the start of a whole new groundswell. And it's a bit like watching this January the 6th commission people. It is really important to remember that nearly all the witnesses that we've seen have come from the Republican Party, which is really important to know that it was, something that not just the Democrats thought about. This most of the people that you hear from are actually, longtime members of the GOP, and that's important to know. It's not one-sided, as is being touted. The witnesses that are telling the truth of their experience had every reason to stand up and be counted. And I admire them for doing that, knowing that the repercussions on them could be quite severe. And so as I look at our world today, it's a different one from the one we went to bed with yesterday. It's a very different world today. And tomorrow will be a very different one again. I believe in goodness in a lot of ways. I believe that there will be some friction because people's rights have been taken away. And I believe that, for this argument that it's not in the Constitution, there are so many things that we agree to every single day that were not in the Constitution. And it's just like, we cherry pick the things that we want to fight about. The truth is, the real decider, I believe, will come at the election. And I believe, personally, that both parties are to blame for this, not just one. I believe both parties are to blame for this. Because any of us that were watching the selection of Supreme Court judges could see that this was a dangerous precedent that was being set, and therefore also what could come as a result of that. And unfortunately, our worst fears have happened. But I also have to say that the Democrats did very little to stop it. So therefore, they are equally to blame. But casting blame doesn't make it right. Action does. And a lot of people will come out and act out to try and get this reversed back again. And I will honestly believe that what happens at the end of this will be a much stronger law, one that can't be reversed. That's what I believe. I believe in the fact that, the next thing that happens will have much stronger roots to it. I know that will make some people very unhappy, but I do believe that it's what will happen. I do believe that, I hope, anyway, personally. I didn't say all rights were taken away, Jeannie. That's not true. I didn't say all rights taken away. That's not fair. And maybe I worded it badly, in which case I apologize. But I'm talking about a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. That was taken away. So I look at it in certain states, right? So I look at it and go, everybody has a choice. And if I believe that the people who live in those states have the choice to leave those states, think about that. But my biggest concern of all, quite honestly, is not about that issue. It is about, are you prepared to pay the taxes it's going to take to put that many more children into school, to put that many, and if you are, it's great. All right, do it. But you're gonna, your female workforce is going to be halved, because more and more females are going to be pregnant when they don't want to be. And I believe the death rate is going to definitely increase. right? Because people will try to do backstreet abortions and things and, pay the price with their lives. It's sad, but true. But maybe that's just a few, and maybe that's okay with you. But for me, it's about so unnecessary. And I am pretty certain the people that are also really angry right now are the young doctors who were young doctors 30 years ago, decided to make this their career, to become an expert at this, now suddenly have had their livelihood taken away in those states. Is that fair? I don't think that's fair either, but it's which side of the fence do you sit? I don't believe there's a right one. I believe that, as in all things, we will have some people for it and some against it. And that is the thing that I'm most grateful for. That is the thing I'm most grateful for, is we do live in a democracy and we can stand up and talk. And yes, some will get up and shout. But that's what we allow in our democracies, isn't it? And if you don't believe that is their right, now, is it their right to threaten people? I don't know what the law says about that. I understand that. I don't think that it is right myself, personally. Um, but do I have the right to stand up and say, this sucks big time? Yes. And I will uphold that right more than anything, even if it's the opposite way. The same as with the January 6th insurrection. I totally believed in the right of people to get up and do that march. I just didn't agree that they had the right to break into the Capitol and then do damage to it. That was where it crossed the line. And, that people got killed because of it, that they attacked, the police force. That was not right. So, but that's just my opinion. And do I have to be right? No, but it is what I believe. And if you believe it's okay to have the police force attacked, that is your right. If you believe that it's okay and your right to invade the Capitol, that is your right. But somewhere we need compromise, and that is important. And I believe the discussion over Roe versus Wade will be at a lot of dining room tables and a lot of get-togethers in the near future. And it'll be very, very difficult for a lot of people on both sides. So this is DearMamaSal saying, take it easy. If it's a fight you don't want to be in, walk away, as Kimmy did. You have that right to not get sucked into an argument. You have your own control, because you are emotionally intelligent, to go, this is getting nasty. I choose to walk away from this discussion. It's not what I want. By the way, if you choose to talk to that person one-on-one later, that's up to you. This is DearMamaSal saying it's very difficult. And Jeannie's saying, no, this is in response to your saying gay people will also suffer. I believe that they will. I totally believe gay people. Didn't the judge already say that? This is not the end. This is the beginning. We're also looking at, I believe he actually said that, Jeannie. So just check on that, because he actually said we are also looking into the following rulings, and they were about same-sex marriage and gay rights and something, and contraception. All right. So, Jeannie, I will try and find it if you haven't found it already, or you just Google it for yourself. He actually verbalized that in the opinion, that this is not the only thing we're looking at. We're looking at these other ones as well. Did you know that, Jeannie? It isn't my just my concern in terms of making it up. It's my concern because of what I heard he said. But maybe you didn't see that, in which case I would understand it. All right. Life is not easy. Keeping emotional intelligence isn't easy. But I really thank Jeannie for being on one side of the discussion, and to the rest of you for being on the other side of it, Jeannie. I always admire the fact that you're prepared to be rational and do so politely. I love it. And hopefully we will continue to have your input on a lot of stuff, because I think it always brings us more balance and more understanding. And I thank you for that. It takes great courage to do what you do politely, and great skill. And I thank you for it from the bottom of my heart. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a great afternoon. I'm going to have a lot of banging and crashing going on at my place as they tear the roof off my shed. And then first, I'm going off to get medication. This is DearMamaSal saying, I love you dearly, Jody. Thank you for looking after me. Jeannie, thanks for being there for backup. And we will see you all this evening. We're stuffing burgers. Bye for now.